If I could measure just one thing to predict how long you'll live, I would not check your cholesterol. I would not check your weight either. I would not even start with your blood pressure. I would actually check your muscle, because in modern medicine, muscle mass and strength are among the strongest predictors of longevity we have. And here's the part most people don't even realize. You don't lose independence when you get old. You get old when you lose muscle. Hi, I'm Dr. Mohammed Paika. I'm board certified in internal medicine as well as obesity medicine. I'm also a personal trainer, and I've spent over 2 decades caring for patients from the emergency room to the ICU to hospital wards across the United States. And after seeing thousands and thousands of patients over the years, one pattern has become impossible to ignore. The patients who recover, the patients who stay independent, the patients who survive illness and go back home, they are almost always the patients who are physically strong. Not bodybuilder strong, not athlete strong, but functionally strong. They have muscle reserve. And in contrast, the patients who decline fastest, who lose independence after a single fall or a single illness, almost always lose their muscle years before they lost their health. So in this lecture, I want to explain exactly why, and we're going to explore how muscle predicts longevity, and why muscle controls blood sugar, how it protects your brain and your heart, and why it prevents falls that change lives, and most importantly, how you can build protective muscle at any age, even if you've never trained before. Because muscle is not just movement tissue. Muscle is a survival organ. As a hospital physician working from the emergency department to the ICU to the inpatient wards, I've seen the same pattern again and again and again. The patients who remain independent, who recover from illness, who survive hospitalization and return home, are almost always the patients who are strong. When does muscle loss begin? Most people think muscle loss begins in old age. Let me clear that up for you. It actually doesn't. It actually begins in the mid-30s. And after about age 35 or so is when you can notice this. Adults lose roughly 1 to 3% of muscle mass per year if they don't train. And that sounds small, but just imagine over decades it compounds dramatically. And by the 70s, an inactive adult may lose 40 to 50% of peak muscle mass. And this condition is called sarcopenia. And sarcopenia is not just weakness. It's an independent risk factor for death. Studies show sarcopenia increases mortality risk by about 2 to 5-fold. Not because muscle loss causes one disease, but because low muscle makes the body vulnerable to almost everything. Things such as infections, falls, metabolic disease, heart events, and hospital complications. And that's not what we want. Muscle is biological resilience. And I often explain it this way to my patients as well. Muscle is like a retirement account for health. The earlier you invest in it, the more consistently you maintain it, the more reserve you have later in life. The independence you have in your 80s is largely determined by the muscle you preserve in midlife. What about muscle and blood sugar? One of the most important roles is metabolic control, as you know. Muscle is the primary organ that removes glucose from your bloodstream. After you eat carbohydrates, about 70 to 80% of circulating glucose is absorbed by skeletal muscle. That's critical because glucose has to go somewhere. Muscle is the body's largest storage system for glucose. When muscle mass declines, there are fewer muscle cells, fewer glucose transporters, less capacity to absorb glucose. Blood sugar stays elevated. The pancreas compensates by releasing more insulin, Over time, this drives insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. I'll give you a simple analogy. Muscle is a sponge for glucose. A large sponge absorbs easily. Small sponge overflows. And that overflow is chronic high blood sugar, the root of vascular damage, nerve damage, and organ disease. Research shows every 10% increase in muscle mass significantly lowers insulin resistance and diabetes risk. And this effect is independent of weight. Two people, same body weight. The one with more muscle has far better metabolic health because muscle is an active tissue. Fat is storage tissue. That distinction is fundamental in obesity medicine. Let's talk about muscle and metabolic flexibility. Muscle also determines metabolic flexibility. And that basically means your ability to switch fuels. Carbohydrates when fed, fat when fasting or exercising. Muscle is rich in mitochondria, your cellular energy engines. More muscle means more mitochondria. And more mitochondria means better fat burning. Low muscle mass reduces mitochondrial density, where metabolism becomes rigid. Patients become carbohydrate dependent, and energy becomes unstable. Patients are frequently hungry, unable to tolerate fasting. A flexible metabolism is like a hybrid engine, switching fuels automatically. Low muscle creates a system stuck in sugar mode. Now, resistance training is one of the strongest known ways to preserve mitochondrial health, which means strength training preserves cellular energy. Clinically, the most immediate danger of muscle loss is not diabetes, it's falls. Hip fractures in older adults carry about 20 to 30% one-year mortality. And that means up to 1 in 3 do not survive the following year. Among survivors, many never regain independence. They go from hospital to rehab to long-term care, possibly. Having muscle prevents this cascade. Having strong quads, strong glutes, and a strong core. All of these allow recovery from imbalance. Muscle is a shock absorber. Weak muscle turns small stumbles into catastrophic falls. The tragedy is how preventable this is. If you want independence in the 70s, this often depends on leg strength maintained in the 50s and 60s. One of the simplest predictors of survival is grip strength. Grip strength correlates with total body strength, as well as cardiovascular risk, stroke risk, and mortality. It's so predictive, many researchers consider it a vital sign. Low grip strength often appears before frailty, and it's an early warning of systemic muscle decline, and it's trainable. Movements such as farmer carries, dead hangs, and grip tools. All of these improve whole body function. Grip strength is like a battery indicator for the neuromuscular system. Muscle is also a neuroprotective organ. Strength training raises BDNF, and that stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF supports memory, learning, neural connections, and think of it as fertilizer for neurons in your brain. Muscle contraction also releases myokines, which are anti-inflammatory signals that protect the brain. Higher midlife muscle mass is associated with lower dementia risk decades later. And the mechanisms include better glucose control, lower inflammation, improved blood flow, and higher BDNF. Even older adults who start resistance training show cognitive improvement within months. Muscle supports brain resilience in addition. It's never too late to build muscle. Even people in their 80s and 90s can gain strength with resistance training. Muscle responds to progressive overload at any age. Protein intake becomes more important with age, and most adults aiming to preserve muscle should target roughly 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram per day. Focus on large muscles, such as your legs, glutes, back, as well as chest, because these muscles determine independence and metabolic impact. Just 2 to 3 strength sessions per week can produce major gains. Now let's talk about walking. Walking maintains cardiovascular health. Strength training preserves muscle. Together, they form one of the most powerful longevity strategies that we know. Muscle building is compound interest. The earlier you invest, the bigger the return. But even having a late investment still shows growth. Let's talk about a practical framework. For daily movement, 30 minutes of brisk walking, just regular walking or walking upstairs or floor to stand practice is remarkable. For strength training, 3 times per week, 15 to 25 minutes or so is sufficient. Doing exercises such as squats or push-ups, rows, lunges, or planks are all great exercises. For grip training, exercises such as farmer carries, dead hangs, and grippers all work as well. Now, it's important to have protein with each meal, and sustainability is important over perfection. When we step back and look at the physiology, one conclusion is unmistakable. Muscle is not about appearance. Muscle is about survival. Higher muscle mass improves metabolic health, cardiovascular health, as well as cognitive function, and helps in fall resistance, immune resilience, surgical recovery, and hospital survival. And unlike many aspects of aging, muscle is largely modifiable. The older adults who remain independent into their 80s and 90s are rarely genetically special. They're simply strong. They preserved muscle across decades. Strength builds slowly, but its benefits compound for life. Start where you are, because the muscle you build today is independence you keep tomorrow. This is Dr. Paika. Thank you very much for listening. I'll see you in the next video.